Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So to do absolute value inequalities on the ACT, it's really important to remember all the rules. So this one says for which value of x is the inequality negative 2x greater than or equal to 6 true. Now, you could do one of two things. You could plug in your answer choices, but a lot of the times solving the inequality is a little bit faster. So the first thing I'm going to do is divide both sides by negative 2. And the ACT will purposely give you negative numbers because what they want you to do is forget to flip the inequality. So anytime you divide or multiply by a negative on the other side, you have to make sure that this inequality flips. Okay, you have to make sure that the inequality flips. So once I flip the inequality, I'm looking for x values, which all of these here, these are all x values, all possible values of x. So it says which value would be true. I'm looking for an x value that's less than or equal to negative 3. Well, all of these answer choices are all larger than negative 3. So the only one that's equal to negative 3 or smaller is option A. So again, it's faster to just solve the inequality instead of plugging in all your answer choices. All right, let's try number 2. So this one says if 12x equals 216, what is the value of x over 9? This is a prime example of how the ACT asks you to do an extra step. So it wants you to solve for x, but then you have to use that information. And if you don't use that information, if you just solve for x, that answer choice is going to be located in one of these answers. So all I have to do here is divide both sides by 12. And 216 divided by 12 actually ends up being 18. Now, looking at your answer choices, 18 is located right here. So you might get excited and see, oh, okay, I've got 18. It's listed, that's my answer. But remember, you have to do something else with x. This one's x divided by 9. So you actually have to take 18 and you have to divide it by 9 in order to get your correct answer. So in this answer, the answer is actually 2, not 18, because you were told to do something else with x. And the ACT will do that a lot of the times because they want to make sure that you are reading the whole question. Plus, this is an easy mistake that you'll make and then you'll lose a point or two just by missing that one question. So you want to make sure that you are solving for x and you're doing everything that you need to do. All right, number 3, which expression below makes the statement 3x plus 5 is less than or equal to 5x minus 3 true? I would recommend, again, just solving the inequality. Don't try to use your answer choices and plug in. So I'm going to solve this just like a normal equation. I'm going to go ahead and subtract 3x. When I do that, I'm left with 5 is less than or equal to 5 minus 3 is 2x minus 3. Add 3 to the next side. Remember, solving inequalities is the exact same thing as solving an equation, just when you divide or multiply both sides by a negative, you have to flip the inequality. So mathematically, all you're doing here is just simplifying and solving an equation, just remembering that one rule. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2, so right here, this is going to cancel and become 1. So 1 is less than or equal. So 1 is less than or, oh my goodness, I just totally made a mistake. Okay, I got it. So this is an 8 actually. Sorry about that. So 5 plus 3 is 8. Sorry, they're doing construction and they're like banging in the hallway and it totally distracted me. Okay, so 8 divided by 2 is 4. So 4 is less than or equal to x. So looking at my answer choices, one thing that you should notice, my x value is on the left here and I have it on the right. You can still answer this question correctly. They usually put the variable on the left-hand side. So just envision like a mirror where everything kind of flips. So x is greater than or equal to 4. So inequalities can be a little tricky, but just remember the variable will end up on the right hand or the left hand side. And if you solve it and it's on the right, just kind of envision a mirror and just like a reflection, it's flipping over. Also, to make sure you wrote it the right way, notice how this is opening towards x. When you flip it, it should still be opening towards x. And they're doing that on purpose so you accidentally pick the wrong one or think your answer is not there and skip it. But you know the answer, you can do it. Okay, to do number 4, Anytime they give you a solution in terms of coordinates, the first thing you want to do is recognize that this is the x value and this is the y value. So the x value is always written first because it's a coordinate, x comma y. And what I would recommend you do is just plug in your answer choices here. Because you have two variables, it's going to be easy to just simplify and substitute. So if we're testing our answer choices, y is -3, so 2 times -3 is -6. And then 3 times -2 is -6, plus 1 is -5. -6 is not bigger than -5, so that is not true. So what you're going to do is test all of these answer choices. I'm going to jump down to the right answer just for the sake of time. The correct answer here is D. So to simplify this, let's go ahead and solve it. So y is -3. So it's -3 minus 2 is greater than or equal to -2 minus 3. So to simplify, I get -5 is greater than or equal to -5, and it can be equal to each other because it's greater than or equal to. So I know that that is my true answer. All the other ones are not true because the inequality is not true. Okay, I threw number 5 on here because we haven't necessarily talked about the conjugate yet, but that doesn't mean that you can't do this problem. You could do it one of two ways. You could solve it correctly using the conjugate, which is what I will do, or you can type this into your calculator and then just type all your answer choices into the calculator. So this problem I put on here, I know we haven't learned it yet, but it's a good calculator question. But I'm going to multiply by the conjugate, so to do that, you are going to change the sign of this number here. So this is going to be 2 plus the square root of 3 over 2 plus the square root of 3. So it's just improper to have a square root in the denominator. So you multiply it by basically a fraction of 1 to just change the appearance of the fraction. And then you just distribute. So it's like I'm multiplying the top by this and the bottom. So 7 times 2 is 14. 7 times the square root of 3 is the 7 root 3. Down at the bottom, you're going to have to use the distributive property. So 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times positive square root of 3 is positive 2 root 3. And then when we jump over here, we have negative square root of 3 times positive 2, which ends up being negative 2 root 3. So notice here, if you're doing the conjugate correctly, these two should cross out, which is the point. You want to get the square root to the numerator. So now I have negative square root of 3 times the square root of 3, which is the negative square root of 9. And that number should end up being a perfect square. So when I simplify, I'm going to get 14 plus 7 root 3 all over 4 minus, and then the square root of 9 is 3. So this fraction is just technically over the number 1. So all I'm looking for in my answer choices is just the numerator because we don't write fractions over 1. So the correct answer here is F. Again, be mindful, you don't have to do it this way. If you're uncomfortable, if you forgot the conjugate, it's not a big deal. The ACT does not matter if you do it the correct way technically, or if you just type it in your calculator. So if you're unsure, or if you don't remember how to do the conjugate, it's not a big deal. You can still do all of these problems. Just keep that in mind. So let's go ahead and do 6. Number 6 is a basic substitution question. So the formula to convert degrees to Fahrenheit is C equals 5/9 times F minus 32. We want to know the Celsius temperature. So Celsius in this case is C, and then 86 Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit is represented as F. So even though they don't tell you that, it is kind of obvious that C is Celsius and F is Fahrenheit. So all you're going to do is make 86 equal to F. So I'm going to substitute. So 5/9 times 86 minus 32. If you're typing this completely in your calculator, I would recommend putting 5/9 in its own set of parentheses. So what that's going to look like, let me go ahead and pull up my calculator. Hopefully we can see it. There we go. So what that's going to look like is parenthesis 5/9 and then open a new set, 86 minus 32. Close, and you get an answer of 30. So this is a problem that might look a little intimidating just because there's words, but it's just a basic substitution problem. It's just a function. You plug a number in for a variable and solve for the other. All right, let's do absolute value. So absolute value, remember, is the distance a number is away from 0. So the reason absolute value always gives you positive answers inside is because distance isn't going to be negative. So you just have to keep that in mind when you're solving these problems. So that means whenever you're setting them up to solve, you have to adjust the equation to reflect that. So the absolute value of x plus 8 equals 12. So what you have to do is, before you can even start, and in this problem there's nothing outside of the absolute value, so we can start. If there is a number outside the absolute value, you have to move it just like an equation, and then you can move absolute values. So what you're going to do is you're going to copy and paste the problem without adjusting anything, and then over here you keep the left hand side the same, but you change the sign of what it equals. You change the sign of what it equals. So notice how these two are identical. I just removed the absolute value sign. And the reason that you set one to positive and one to negative is because absolute value, it doesn't matter if negative 12 is inside the absolute value or positive 12. The outcome is still going to be 12. So that's why you break it up into the two cases. It's not just some random rule that was made up. It's just mathematically correct because I can have a negative inside this absolute value sign. And that's why I set it equal to a negative, because my answer could be positive or it could be negative. So that's kind of the reason behind the absolute value. I know you might have been taught just change the sign of 1, but that's why you change the sign. So from here, I'm just going to solve. I'm going to subtract 8 from each side. So I get x to equal 4. I'm going to pause and look at my answer choices. So all I've done is one problem. I see that B is 20 only. That's out. This one says negative 4. There's no positive 4 in sight, and neither here. So right here, I've only done one piece of it. I've only done half the problem, and now I've narrowed it down to 50-50 chance. It's super important that you utilize your answer choices so you can eliminate answers. You want a higher percentage. Even if you don't know what you're doing, you can always eliminate some answers. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and subtract 8. And right here, I'm going to get x equals negative 20. Which goes ahead and tells me that A is out. I can have either an answer of negative 20 for x or positive 4, because remember, when I plug it into here, I'm allowed to get a negative inside of my absolute value, because when it's a negative, it's automatically going to become positive. Okay, number 8 is a little tricky. Again, they want you to do something with the x value. So that right there is super important. You have to make sure that you're paying attention to your answer, because they're going to do things like that to trick you. Another thing I want you to notice is how the problem is written. So they totally had plenty of room to put negative absolute value x right here. They move it down here so you kind of skip information by accident. It's just another tricky thing that the ACT does, and they do it so you accidentally don't see that negative sign. Like, honestly, that's all they're doing. They're paid to trick you. So they're going to use any kind of method to trick you. So all I'm doing here is I need to recognize, okay, I need to do something with x. I have to do negative absolute value of x, which means my outcome answer has to be negative, because the negative is outside of the absolute value. So just knowing that information, I have narrowed it down to 50-50 chance. I haven't even done anything yet, and I've already narrowed it down, which is great. So now if you're strapped for time, you can go ahead and substitute and simplify, and you're good. So what I'm going to do is solve. So right here, you cannot multiply by x minus 2 yet, because everything's not over a fraction. So I have to subtract 2 first. So I'm going to be left with x over x minus 2 equals 2. Then I can clear my fraction. Now there's one of two ways you can do this. It depends on how you were taught algebra and also how comfortable you feel. So anytime you have a fraction equal to a whole number, you can put the whole number over 1 and cross multiply. Okay, that is totally allowed. I, however, use clearing a denominator, which means you just multiply one side by the denominator and the other side by the denominator. They're literally the same thing. So I don't care which way you do it, I just want you to feel the most comfortable doing it. So if you want to put the 1 underneath the 2, or if you want to clear the denominator by multiplying both sides by the denominator, totally fine. So I'm going to distribute the 2, so this becomes x equals 2x minus 4. When I solve for x, I'm going to subtract 2x. I'm sorry, I'm running out of room here. So I'm going to get I'll move it up here. So I get negative x equals negative 4. So my x value equals 4. Now, looking through your answer choices, notice that that's a 4. Okay, that's a problem because I got x to equal 4. If you don't read this problem, you're going to miss it. It wants the negative absolute value of 4. Well, the negative is out front, so it stays. The absolute value of 4 is 4, so my answer is negative 4, which is option F. All right, which one is not a solution of the absolute value of 5 minus 2x is greater than or equal to 3? So the first thing you want to do is get the absolute value isolated. So I have made it isolated. It's already given to me. Now I have to break it up. And I'm going to rewrite it because when you're breaking up absolute value signs, it's very important. It's a little bit different if it's equals versus an inequality. So the first thing you're going to do is take away the absolute values. Remember, I can only do this if there's nothing outside of absolute values. I'm going to copy and paste it exactly how it's shown. Okay? Then I'm going to keep the inside the same. Then right here, I have to flip the inequality and change the sign. So when it's equals, you don't have to flip the equal sign. If flipped equal sign is an equal sign. But here, I have to flip it. Then I'm just going to solve it like normal. So I'm going to subtract 5 from this side. Get negative 2x is greater than or equal to negative 2. I'm dividing by a negative here. So when I do that, I have to flip the inequality. So I get x is less than or equal to 1. So my answer could be less than or equal to 1. Okay, which basically all these numbers but k, in this case. Okay, so next I'm going to go ahead and keep going. So I get 5 minus 2x is less than or equal to, what am I doing? I gotta subtract 5 here. I'm going to get negative 2x is less than or equal to, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. All right, negative 8, and then we divide by negative 2, making this x is greater than or equal to 4. So I'm looking for an answer that's either greater than 4, greater than or equal to 4, or less than or equal to 1. Okay? So let's go ahead. We're looking for the one that is not a solution. So do not get confused on this problem, okay? X being greater than or equal to 4 makes 5 a solution. So I don't want it. And I'm looking for x being less than or equal to 1. 0, negative 1, and negative 2, those are all less than 1. The only one that's between is J, 2. 2 is not a solution because 2 is greater than 1 and less than 4, which is not in these parameters. All right, next one. Now this is a prime example of how you have to move what's out front first. So here's my absolute value sign. I need to go ahead and remove anything that's in front of it or behind it. So I'm going to add 2 first. Absolute value of x plus 3 equals 12. Now my absolute value is isolated, so I can break it up into my 2 cases. X plus 3 equals 12. X plus 3 equals negative 12. Oh, not negative 2, sorry. Okay, now I'm going to solve. Subtract 3. X is equal to 9, so positive 9. Just by solving that one, I automatically know that my answer is E. Notice how this is negative. That doesn't even have 9. None of these do. That's my only answer. So I'm going to test it. Subtract 3. X also has to equal negative 15, which is E. So be mindful. The ACT does not care if you finish this problem. If you can narrow it down and know your answer, you're good to go. All right, let's continue on. Number 11. Number 11, what is the value of the absolute value of k? So notice here how there's no negative, which means positive only. So A and B are out. I've got a 33% chance of doing it right. So from here, I'm going to use either trick. It does not matter. So you can put this over 1 and cross multiply, or you can clear the fraction by multiplying both sides by the denominator. They are literally the same thing, like the exact same thing. So what happens here is this cancels with this, and I'm left with 3k equals 6 parentheses k plus 2. I'll distribute the 6, so I get 3k equals 6k plus 12. Subtract 6k. There we go. So I'm going to subtract 6k. Cancels, I have negative 3k equals 12. Then I'm going to divide both sides by negative 3, and I'm going to get k to equal negative 4. Now, again, notice how negative 4 is listed first. If you don't read the question, you're going to pick the first answer, which is not good. We want the absolute value of k, meaning I need to take the absolute value of a negative number, which is always positive. So k, the absolute value of k, is 4, not negative 4, which is listed first. They like to put wrong answers first, so you get excited and you pick it, okay? All right, number 12. Number 12 is a really great problem because, again, it's practicing. They've rewritten the solutions as a different form. This is a totally acceptable way to write these answers. And notice how these are not parentheses, they're braces. So that lets you know that one's not X and one's not Y. They're just both answer choices. So nothing outside absolute value. I'm going to break it up. So I get 2x minus 1 equals 7. 2x minus 1 will equal negative 7. Now I can solve. Add 1. 2x equals 8. When I divide by 2, I get 4. I'm going to pause and be a smart test taker and cross out my answer choices. So I'm going to cross here, here, and here because none of those have positive 4. So be a smart test taker. Use your answer choices wisely. That's why they're there. So plus 1 plus 1. So 2x equals negative 6. When I divide both sides by 2, I'm going to get x to be negative 3, which is option K. So remember, no one's grading your work. Okay, if you can eliminate your answer choices, do it. Okay, number 13. Again, I'm just doing a basic solve problem. Sorry, I know I'm kind of running out of space here, so I'll just do that. 2x minus 3 is greater than 11. I'm going to add 3. 2x is greater than 14. When I divide by 2, x has to be greater than 7, which is B. This is a very straightforward, easy question. Nothing too difficult about that one. All right, 14. Now, 14 is my bad because it is totally just written confusingly, and that is my fault. So this goes here. So this is a 1. The 2 should go here. The 3 should go here. And the 4 should go here. So that is my fault that it has photocopied so poorly. On the ACT, it will not look like that. So you're looking for which one of these answer choices is this graph. Okay, we're looking for which answer is that graph. So what I would recommend doing is utilizing your answer choices. The correct answer here is C. Now you can solve each one of these problems out or kind of look at your choices. So I'm looking at my choices. I kind of see that my answer has to be less than positive 3. So right off the hand, I know that it's not going to equal 4 because it's open. So it has to be less than 3. Like whatever this is has to be less than 3. Meaning the only answer choices I have left are A and C, just by using smart test taking strategies. Now I'm going to solve them. And since I know the answer is C, I'm going to just solve that one. So I'm going to break it up into x minus 1 is less than 3 and x minus 1 is greater than 3. So when I solve, I add 1 to get an answer of x is less than 4. Okay. And then also I'm going to add, oh, I forgot to make that negative. My bad. There you go. And then I'm also going to, I think I messed myself up. No, I didn't. I just forgot the negative. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and add 1 to both sides, and I'm going to get x is greater than negative 2. So if you solve it from here, it's just going to be a little bit easier. So all of my answer choices here, x has to be less than 4, but x also has to be greater than negative 2, which goes here. So just utilize, some test-taking strategies. Plug in some random numbers if you want to. Just if you want to do guess and check, I would recommend just kind of using your answer choices. Okay, 15. What is the solution to this problem? So I'm going to go ahead and kind of look through it. What I would recommend is that you solve it. So to zoom out a little bit more, I'm going to get x minus 1 is less than or equal to 2. X minus 1 is greater than or equal to negative 2. Solve them individually. So when I add 1, I'm going to get x is less than or equal to 3. Okay, x is less than or equal to 3. That's one of them. And then when I add 1, I'm going to get x to be greater than or equal to negative 1. So my circles should be closed because these are inclusive, which means C is out and so is D, because those are not inclusive values. They're open circles, which are inclusive. So from here, I am looking for answers. I need circles at 3 and at negative 1. Well, these are both at 2 and negative 2, so this one's out. This one is at positive 1, which is not these, so that one's out. And then if I go down here, if I'm looking at my number line, that is negative 1, and this is 3. So that's the only one you have left. Also, these values are less than 3, and these values are greater than negative 1. So your answer is E. All right, for how many integer values of x is the absolute value of x minus 3 less than 2 a true statement? All right, so I'm going to solve it. I'm going to go ahead and break it up. X minus 3 is less than 2. Then I also have x minus 3 is greater than negative 2. So to add 3 to both sides, I get x has to be less than 5. I'm going to add 3 to this side, and I'm going to get x has to be greater than 1. So I'm looking for numbers that are greater than 1 but less than 5, and they have to be integers. Okay? So if I'm counting to 5, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But notice how x has to be greater than 1, which means I can't use that one. X also has to be less than 5, which means I can't use that one because they're not inclusive. So I'm only left with 3 integers, which is option C. All right, which of the following is an irrational number? Well, remember, this is just a classifying numbers problem. Irrational means that the fraction will go, or the decimal will go on forever and will not repeat or terminate. So we are used to pi being irrational, but 3.14 is not all of pi. This is a terminating decimal, so that is a rational number. Then this one becomes the absolute value of negative 1, which ends up being 1. That is also rational. 0 is rational. The square root of 121 is 11, which is also rational. And the square root of 10 is going to give you that never repeating decimal answer. Okay, 18. Solve for x. 7 is less than 2x plus 11. I'm just going to simplify. I'm going to go ahead and subtract 11 from both sides. So 7 minus 11 is negative 4 is less than 2x. Divide both sides by 2. I get negative 2 is less than x. I'm going to go ahead and eliminate D and C because I have negative values. Also, I might accidentally choose E because my variable is on the right. Remember, the variable should go on the left, so I'm going to just flip that inequality. So envision just it flipping over. Also, this is opening towards x, so it should also open towards x here. So I'm looking for x is greater than negative 2, which is option B. Okay, number 19. Again, I'm just solving. These are both x values. That's why they're not parentheses, they're braces. So to solve, I'm going to break it up. So I have 2x minus 4 equals 10. Then I also have 2x minus 4 equals negative 10. Adding 4 to both sides will give me 2x equals 14. When I divide by 2, I get 7. So I'm going to pause, look at my answer choices. I'm going to cross out A and C because those have negative 7. They don't have positive 7. Then down here, I'm going to go ahead and add 4 with 2x equaling negative 6. Dividing by negative 2, or positive 2, I get negative 3. So D is out and E, and my answer is B. Okay, number 20. In the open sentence, absolute value of 2x minus 3 is less than 7. What is equivalent to that graph? So I'm going to solve it. Again, these take up a little bit of time, but as you practice, you'll get a lot faster at solving these. So I'm going to go ahead and break it up. I have 2x minus 3 is less than 7, and then 2x minus 3 is greater than negative 7. I would recommend, even if you don't have space, to write both of them. Write both equations first. That way you won't forget one. So I'm going to add 3. I'll get 2x is less than 10. Divide by 2, x is less than positive 5. Notice how both of these are open. This is going to be just an inequality, not an inclusive inequality. It's just less than or greater than, not with equals. So I'm looking for open circles on everything. B is out because one is closed and one is open. They both have to be open. Again, closed and closed. So I right here can eliminate, and I have a 33% chance of doing it correctly. But even further from this, I can go ahead and eliminate more answers. I'm looking for x being less than 5, but a circle has to be at 5. So right here, that works. 5, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is over here. There should be an open circle at 5. C is out. Again, I'm going to go here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There should be an open circle here, and there isn't. So just by eliminating your answer choices, you get the answer of A. However, for the sake of the problem, I'll continue to solve it. On the ACT, I would recommend that you eliminate your answers because it saves you some time. So x has to also be greater than -2, which is option A. I know this video is kind of long. I'm sorry, guys. This is a pretty big worksheet, so there are 30 problems on here. 21, solve for x. I'm going to go ahead and subtract 2. You cannot, and I repeat, you cannot do 2 plus 3. 3 is being multiplied over here. You cannot do 3 plus 2 and get 5 and distribute 5. That's not a good thing. So I'm going to have 3 parentheses 5 minus x, and then that's less than 6. Then I would go ahead and honestly, you could distribute the 3, or you can now divide both sides by 3 because it's being multiplied. Save yourself some time. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong answer. I was like, this is not working out. Okay, here it goes. So these will cancel, and I'm left with 5 minus x is less than 2. Subtracting 5 from each side, I will have a negative x is less than -3. Then right here, I need to make sure, because I have x is less than -3 as an answer right here. If you leave the negative off, your answer is here. So you just be careful. I'm going to divide both sides by -1. When I divide by the negative, it flips the fraction, making it positive. Oh my goodness, I am so sorry. I'm just full of mistakes today. So x is greater than +3. Oh, again, another mistake. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm doing this during my planning, and I'm a little exhausted. So sorry about that. So x is greater than 3. All right, number 22 is just, can you read a graph? So we're trying to figure out which of these inequalities represents the graph that's shown. I see that this is a closed circle, so my mind should go to greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. So I should have an answer that either is this or this because the circle is closed. So I'm going to eliminate A, B, and C, or and D.
Before 4:30 this afternoon. Thank you.
Okay, next what we're going to do is just analyze our answer choices. So to analyze my answer choices, I'm going to go ahead and just look at my problem. So all these numbers are greater than -2. So x is greater than or equal to -2. All these numbers are bigger. So that is option E. Okay, 23, great problem. If you don't understand things being raised to the 0 power, all that means is anything to the 0 power is 1. So notice how all of this is being raised to the 0 power. It just means your answer is 1. That's D. All right, 24. X plus 2, the absolute value of it, is greater than 5 is equivalent to which of the open sentences? So what I would do is just set the problem up, okay? That's all they're doing here. That's it. So the first way I can have that is x plus 2 is greater than 5. I'm going to look at my answer choices. This has to be one of them. I don't even have to solve it. Notice how x is not isolated. Don't waste your time. So x plus 2 is greater than 5. Looking at my answer choices, option A says x plus 2 is less than 5. But over here, it has x plus 2 is greater than 5. Okay. Then we've got x plus 2 is greater than 5, and negative 5 is less than x plus 2. So notice what's happening here. We have and we have ors. Okay. So let's go ahead and set up the next problem. X plus 2 is less than negative 5. Okay, x plus 2 is less than negative 5. So see if you can eliminate some answer choices just by looking at these first. Okay, so looking through my answer choices, x plus 2 less than positive 5. So E is out. These don't match either of these. Okay. X plus 2 is greater than negative 5. That doesn't match either of these. Then to continue narrowing down, we have x plus 2 is greater than 5. That's good. Or negative 5 is greater than x plus 2, which if I flipped this, negative 5 is greater than x plus 2. These here match C. Okay? If I'm looking at this answer, okay, x plus 2 is greater than 5 matches here. This is negative 5 is less than x plus 2, which does not match here. So B is out. Okay. And then over here, they forgot the negative, right? Negative 5. These are both positive 5s. So A is out. And the correct answer is C. Okay, number 25 is very similar to 23. However, on 25, only A is being raised to the 0. So this becomes 4 times 1, because only A is being raised to the 0 power. 4 times 1 is 4. Just a basic solve. Break it up. 3 minus 2x equals positive 5, and 3 minus 2x equals negative 5. Subtract 3, I'm going to get negative 2x equals 2. Divide by negative 2, and x equals 1. I'm going to pause, look at my answer choices. Positive 1 is not in A, and it's not in B. I don't want to eliminate E yet, because I might not get an answer. Oh, I did it again. Y'all, I'm telling you, it has been a week and a half. Okay, here we go. I'm so sorry. 2 divided by negative 2 is negative 1. So I can only eliminate C. I'm so sorry. Here, I know what I'll do. I will just do it right here. Here's the correct work, because my brain just is not working. So from here, all I'm going to do is I subtract the 3, divide by the negative 2 for negative 1. Then over here, I subtract the 3 to get negative 8. Divide by negative 2, making it positive 4. So my answers are negative 1 and positive 4, which is option B. Sorry about that, guys. My brain is a little fried. All right, 27. Again, we're just solving. I will not mess this one up. So x minus 4 equals 3. X minus 4 equals negative 3. I'm going to show my work this time so I don't make a silly mistake. So x equals positive 7, which is correct. So this one's out and this one is out. I'm going to add 4. X equals positive 1. So C and E are out, leaving A as the only correct answer. Okay. So number 28 is so difficult. It eluded me for years because I could never think of the correct way to do this problem. I knew there was only one answer, but honestly, not gonna lie, it took forever to figure out. So which of the following is not true for all real numbers of E, F, and G? So if E is greater than 0, then 1 over E has to be greater than 0. So what I would recommend is test it out. Let's make E 1. 1 is greater than 0. Well, if I substitute here, 1 over 1 is greater than 0, that is true. We're looking for the one that's not true. So A is out because A is true. Okay, let's jump to C because the correct answer is B. E is less than 0, then E squared has to be greater than 0. So let's make E negative 1. Negative 1 squared being greater than 0. Negative 1 squared is 1, and 1 is greater than 0. So C is out. If E is between 0 and 1, then E squared is less than E. So let's make E 0.5. Okay, if we make E 0.5, that's in between 0 and 1. So 0.5 squared is 0.25. So E squared, 0.5 squared, has to be less than 0.5. Well, 0.25 is less than 0.5. That's true. D is out. If E is greater than 0, then negative E is less than 0. So let's pick 1. Okay, 1's bigger than 0. Is negative 1 less than 0? Yes, it is. That is true. So your answer is B. If you're not sure how to get B, this honestly took me a while because I was able to disprove most of these. And for some reason, B always tripped me out. Like, I knew it was B, but I could never, like, prove it. Now I know how to do it. So E has to be less than F, then EG is less than FG. Okay? So let's make, I'm going to scoot this over. Let's make E negative 2, and we'll make F positive 2. Okay? All right. So let's plug in here. E is less than F, so we need a value for G. So let's make G negative 3. So E is less than F. We met that requirement. Negative 2 is less than 2. That's true. However, then E times G has to be less than F times G. So E times G would be negative 2 times negative 3 is less than, it has to be less than F times G, which is 2 times negative 3. When I plug that in, I get positive 6 is less than negative 6. And that is not true. And that's why B is the correct answer. That is incorrect. Because we're looking for which one is not true. 29 is a basic substitution question. We're just solving for W, so I would just substitute. S is 3, so 3 times 2 squared all over 3 plus 2 quantity squared. So 3 times 2 squared is 4 all over 5 squared. 3 times 4 is 12 divided by 25. Now looking at your answer choices, no, it's not. Oh, I made another mistake. That should be cubed. Y'all, I'm telling you. I promise I can do math. So 2 cubed is 8. Then 3 times 8 is 24. So it should be 24 over 25. Promise I can do math. My brain. Common mistakes, guys. This is why I shouldn't make these videos during my planning period. I wrote the problem down wrong. But here's the thing. Like, it's totally fine if you make a mistake and you do a problem wrong. I mean, look, I've made mistakes all over these worksheets. So I'm not perfect. It's okay to make a mistake, and I totally made one, which is fine. Okay, we are allowed to make mistakes. We are people. Okay? So the correct answer is 24 over 25. Let's end on an easy problem. 4 to the 0. This whole thing is being raised to the 0, so my answer is 1.